Right, now it's time for a second keynote of the day, tokenomics, how to design them, and why the token matters more than the money. And for that, we have Marcin Rudolf, who is the CTO and founder at Neufund. Please come to the stage.
Okay, hello. Oh, cool. Is there a way to change the slides? All right. Hello, I'm Marcin Rudolf. I'm CTO at Neufund, and I will share, I think, a different perspective on what was discussed in here. I think that the topic is the same, but let's say that the way I will talk about that is going to be very different. So, what is this one? Okay, so what is token economics? I rather prefer to call it token engineering because this is not a science yet. It's more practical. It's very new, and basically it is a way to design a token that is gonna work for a particular business model. Because if you create a token, people say that tokens are fueling the businesses, they're fueling the blockchain networks. Yes, you can do it in a correct way, and then your network grows. But if you choose not a valid token, or you design the token not a valid way, you're gonna kill your business. It's the same for the participants or your clients or your investors and so on. If you use the right token, then they will align and they will work to increase the value of your network or of your business. If you use not a valid token or a token that is not right for your business, then you're gonna put these people against each other and they not gonna work together. Yes, so I'm going to talk about the utility and security tokens in this context, and I think we're going to have pretty similar conclusions at the end to what was here, but I would say the language is going to be very different. Can I have a next slide? It's in here? Okay. Good. All right, so let's start from the utility tokens. And utility tokens are really very specific kind of token that only works in very specific context, yes? So we need to explain what this context is. And the context in which the utility tokens really work well are this kind of fundamental blockchain networks, fundamental blockchain economies that we know, and that we can see on the market. One of the, I think, the most important one are on the slide, and we can see that all these networks are organized around creating some common good or a good that people want to use. So we have Ethereum network that creates this trustless computer, or we have storage and the Filecoin, and we have of course Bitcoin and trustless money and so on and so on. So some kind of resource is created by people called miners, and there are people that want to use this resource, so they want to consume this resource. Yes, and now this resource is not free. Yes, this resource is not free, so we cannot just give it to the people because the miners will just went out of business, yes? So the way to, let's say, control access to this resource is called a token, and basically this is a utility token. So the token is a way to set a price that will work both for miners and consumers, and that will incentivize everyone to use and produce the resource, like, I don't know, trustless money or computing power, or the basic attention token is controlling access to people's attention in the advertisement networks and so on and so on. Okay, and now we have utility tokens, yes? Utility tokens are really meant to create a kind of equilibrium price or a market price for this good. And this way they're gonna allow everyone to maximize a value, yes? Because if the price is right, it is okay for miners to create a lot of this resource, like provide a lot of computing power or a lot of storage. And it's also okay for consumers to use it, yes? Because it's not too pricey, and it's not too cheap, yes? And this is the primary function of utility token, is to simply set the price, yes? And we could see that this really worked for Bitcoin, yes, because the Bitcoin in the early stage, it was like a growing just organically. For many years, there were more people providing the hash power and more users, and network effects was growing, and growing. And at some point, this all changed, and now it's the most, I think, interesting part. It is that at some point, people realize that this organic growth, it is not enough. No one is interested in waiting a few years for your network to grow or to grow organically or through the network effects. So what people started to do, they added the so-called investment function to utility token, yes? And how it happens, there are two ways. You have primary financing, it's called ICO, so you basically take investors on board even before you have any working network. And the second one is even more important, it's secondary markets, yes? So you can also trade this token on the secondary market, and you open your token from being like just a price regulator for your small economy of your network, to open to this whole financial world, to external inflow of value, yes? Yeah, and this speeds things up, yes? But there is also a cost, yes? Because these utility tokens, they are really not meant to be used for investment, yes? They are really not meant to be used as an investment vehicle, yes? They are simply not meant to be securities. And this is very deeply ingrained in the token design, because if you have a utility token that is meant to create optimum price for the rest in your network, then you put users of network and miners of your network against your investors, yes? Because the investor is interested in the token to rise in price, but the user is not. The user would like to have it as cheap as possible. And what miners need, they need the optimum price, because they maximize the profits when they produce the most amount of good that can be consumed. So basically, if you start fundraising with your utility token, sooner or later, we'll put your user against your investors, and this is simply not good, yes? Because instead of aligning everyone and working on the common network that you have, yes, you put them against each other. And some people would like tokens to go up, some people would like the price to go down, and they are basically together in this network, but they have non-aligned interests. The other issue with the utility token, if they are used as an investment or as security, is that, yeah, you can see it with Bitcoin, yes? You can see it with Bitcoin, and that simply, if it grows in value so much, yes, it stops being used, because people will prefer to keep this token for themselves than to use it, yes? And this is very old. I just see that the slides is swapped, so it's more here. It's more like I know this is very old economic principle that you have two currencies, and one is fake and one is, let's say, made of gold. People will simply keep the gold for themselves and will try to spend the fake one. So if you have a network that is really has a lot of value accumulated, yes, you have very pricey token, and you have an alternative network, this is as good as this one, but it's very cheap, then the user will use the other one, yes, because why they should, I mean, they are more incentivized to use the other one than to use the first one, because for the first one, it's better to just keep the token, not use it. Yes? So we could also see that Bitcoin is rarely used as simply as money. It's used as a store of value. So this is also a consequence of having like too many investors in your utility token. All right. So come on. So let's summarize why the utility tokens are so tricky. Yes, they are not meant to be investment vehicle, and they never were. I mean, like investing in utility tokens, like if you want to invest in Tesla, so you buy a lot of Teslas. Yes, it's exactly the same. Yes, so instead of like investing of the equity of the Tesla factory, you buy a lot of Tesla cars. It doesn't make much sense. The other thing that is really utility token are really meant for these blockchain networks and for the blockchain network business models that are very limited in scope. So if you have just an app, and you want to have a token that is used simply to pay for access, this is not really a utility token what you need. Yes, you need something else, because the utility token has really very narrow, let's say, applications. I'm not saying that they are not important, because those networks will be very powerful and probably there's a lot of money, but there's just a few of these business models that are built around blockchain network, a few types of it. All right. So there is a lot of people talk a lot about security tokens recently, and security tokens, they can have really the same, let's say, code behind, and they work in the same way, but their purpose or the function is very different. Yes, they were created or designed to be investment vehicles. Yes, so there are tokens that are designed to be invested in, and there could be many types of those. And I basically at Neufund for like a long time I was designing a token that is representing equity of the company. So I will use it as an example. And this kind of equity is kind of abstraction over every business model, because you can represent any business model as a share simply, yes, and this share has a value. So instead of buying Tesla cars, yes, you invest in the equity of Tesla, yes, you simply invest in some kind of abstraction, yes, and the equity is somehow separate from just operations of the business, yes? So when you invest in equity, you don't really too much affect how this factory is working. With utility token, there's a huge impact, yes? And it's not a positive one, as I show. So, security tokens and this notion of equity, which is pretty old, it is really very interesting concept to bring to blockchain. Of course, we don't want to bring everything from off-chain. Yes, this is already mentioned here. There is so many bad things that, or some kind of things that are due to, let's say, lack of technology that we don't want to really bring to blockchain space. The equity concept is good, but the execution should be different. Yes, so the security tokens still possess all these cool things that tokens on blockchain have, yes? Like you can directly transfer it from one to another. So you have a direct ownership, yes, which doesn't happen at all with stock, let's say. You always have like a few intermediaries in there. Then you have this global liquidity. Yes, it's very important. The tokens are standardized, yes, and can be traded everywhere. And the secondary markets do not even need to ask you for permission, yes, because you have this protocol that lets you trade it, yes. Then you have this programming function into the token. So you can basically combine the utility and security into one token. This is tricky, of course, and you need to think about that. Maybe you need two tokens that are somehow combined, but still, it's a programmable share. So you can add a lot of utility to it if you want. And so on and so on. You have fractional ownership, so you can have a building, but it can be like a split into billion of tokens and so on. Yes? All right. I mean, now what's happening now, it is a very interesting discussion how this token should be standardized. I mean, standardizing the security token somehow will let everyone use. Will create a whole ecosystem of issuers. I think Polymath was presenting their network. There are others. Yes, if there is a way to standardize it, yes, and make it happen in many different jurisdictions, then the whole ecosystem of apps and issuers and other ecosystem players can be built around that. Yes, and I don't know how it's going to be done because it's very complicated. There is a few things that for sure the token should have, like it should be, of course, legally binding. That was also mentioned, and regulated. It should protect the investors' rights, like dividends, proceeds, and this kind of stuff, and probably many different things. Yes, but this is very early stage. But I think the consequences of having a standardized security protocol that you can issue any security and anyone can build an app for it. Like right now, you have a token and you have secondary markets that are just based on the transfer function. You can have many other things based on these extensions of the security tokens. All right, so that's it. I think that the takeaway is that there are different tokens that are meant for different things. If you wanna really think about having a blockchain business model, your network and utility token, don't use it for investment. Think about doing this in another way, like maybe with the security token. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcin. Marcin Rudolf, CTO and founder at Neufund. Thank you so much.